What's up, everyone? Jim and Tom here to talk full spoilers about Logan, specifically the ending of the film. It is the final Hugh Jackman Wolverine movie. So, again, full spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen the movie, come on back though after you have. Check it out and leave your comments below about what you thought of the movie's ending, because here we go.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a whole lot.
They killed off Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
And Professor X.
And Professor X. Now, mind you, we've seen Professor X die before and kind of come back, but this movie is called Logan, and it's all about, Hugh Jackman's last time. How did you feel as somebody who was growing up in a time only knowing, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? I grew up in a time when, we didn't have X-Men movies when I was a lad.
What are the X-Men?
So I knew what the X-Men were, but what did you think about how they ended this and seeing Wolverine get killed off?
It was beautiful. It was done really beautifully. I was 10 years old, I think, when the first X-Men came out, and so I really have grown up with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And even in the X-Men movies where, they weren't necessarily the best, looking at you origins, he was infinitely watchable in every single one of them. He dedicated himself to that character, and to see him go out with such a fitting movie was really special and unexpectedly touching. Especially the way it happens. He dies defending the next generation of mutants, from the Transigen Corporation, who's trying to turn them into weapons, which Wolverine knows a lot about, obviously.
Yeah, I thought thematically and in every sense, it was a perfect sort of resolution to that character. From the first time we see him in 2000's X-Men movie, he's just this gruff loner, and he gets saddled taking care of this young girl on the run. And for it to come full circle now and have that young girl on the run be not Rogue, but X-23, Lara, his own daughter, his own flesh and blood, was incredibly touching and appropriate sort of way to bring it all home. Even it was also, as somebody who has been covering this franchise since the beginning, the first thing I ever did for IGN actually was on X-Men 2000. So my whole career has been this guy, being Wolverine. And I have to say, it was incredibly ballsy to do that.
Yeah.
Like, yes, spoiler for this too, but, killing off Han Solo was one thing. This also, finally killing off James Bond, or really killing off Batman or something like that.
It's an iconic character in kind of geek cinema now.
Never played by any other actor.
No.
I mean, this is a perfect marriage of actor and superhero. And in fact, one of my questions to you was, do you think this is Hugh Jackman and Wolverine? Is it the ultimate marriage of superhero character and actor, even more than, say, Christopher Reeve and Superman, even more than Downey and Iron Man?
I think it is. I think there is no actor-hero pairing. The only one that comes close is Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Somebody that is just synonymous with that character. Hugh Jackman has been doing it twice as long and has just become this real pop culture icon because of it. And so, the idea that he is just synonymous with him for the rest of his career, I can't see anyone approaching that for a long time.
Well, we're going to talk more about what is next for Wolverine, if anything, on the big screen in a separate future conversation. So stay tuned for that. But to get back to this film, the gutsiness of killing off this character, the finality of it, that there was no sort of little hint of the rocks in the grave,
nothing was, no chess pieces move when Logan dies.
Or pebbles floating off the coffin.
Yeah, exactly.
A la, not to knock BBS, I'm just pointing it out that they really, he's dead
very
and buried,
final. And you know what? And
that last image.
That last image, I've seen the movie twice at this point, and even more the second time around when Laura takes the cross that the kids kind of made for him and turns it on its side to
So
the
it
X.
looks like an X.
Looks like an X. And that's cool because like, oh, he's part of the X-Men X, I get it. But there's a deeper meaning to that, I think, that I kind of got this second time. And this movie's all about family. This is all about family.
Yeah.
Father-daughter relationship with Laura and Logan, father-son with Xavier and Logan. And it made me realize in that moment, that is his family crest. That is the only kind of symbol of his family that he has. And realizing that made it way more touching.
Yeah. I mean, it really was, the character of Wolverine has always been the guy who was an outsider, who wanted to be left alone, but really found his calling being a guardian, really, for his family, but particularly the ones who couldn't really defend themselves. One of the best sequences in any of the X-Men movies was X2, him defending those kids in the mansion. And this movie really did get all those key elements, and I think it's a real testament to not only director James Mangold, but also Hugh Jackman. He knows this character, he has shepherded and developed each story that the character has had in his solo movies. And I think it really just speaks to how much they get this guy.
Yeah, and you hear Hugh Jackman in a lot of interviews lately going like, I was a real jerk to some of the people that were making this movie because I wanted to get it right. Like, I would not let anyone do something that wasn't true to the character, true to the story we're telling. And to hear an actor get so defensive about a role like that,
it's his legacy.
And it shows in his performance. Because this performance, he was nominated for an Oscar for Les Mis. This is the best performance of his career, without question.
It's a really magnificent sort of, not just a topper for the character, but to see this guy who was an unknown in the States when he was cast as Wolverine back in 2000, came in at the last minute to replace Dougray Scott, who had been cast and was injured making Mission Impossible 2, couldn't do X-Men. So it was literally a lucky break that got Hugh Jackman his movie star career. And I still remember the first time seeing X-Men, and people online at that time he was this pretty boy theater actor known for doing Oklahoma, and people like, he's too tall for Wolverine, he's too skinny, he's all wrong, he's too young, making fun of his name, like everything. It was, you think it's brutal now, it was brutal then too. And boy, oh boy, has this guy not only proven everyone wrong, but just walking out of that movie the first time being like, this guy's like young Clint Eastwood and young Mel Gibson kind of all rolled into one. And it was just, and now to see it come full circle and see him basically get the Unforgiven of X-Men movies is just, it's a great send-off. So at the end of the day, we were both, at the end of the screening, we were both pretty misty-eyed watching this happen. We want to hear, what did you think and feel about the end of Logan, Wolverine dying, Hugh Jackman's kind of legacy of this character? Let us know in the comments for all things X-Men and movies. Keep it here on IGN.